Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of The Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, and his dog. And the dog is also, I think, co-host of Cross Russia RT's Crosstalk. So now the time has come for the thumbs ups and thumbs downs for the week, what everyone has been waiting for. So I'll go first. My thumbs down is the Russia's sanctions list. Not because, obviously, I'm against Russia retaliating to the Biden administration sanctions, but I found it a little underwhelming, to say the least. I mean, in the first place, Russia announced that it's expelling 10 US diplomats. Now, that's the Russian policy, which is tit for tat, always reciprocity. Now, frankly, I don't understand this principle because if somebody's initiating, and it's always being initiated by the United States, I don't quite understand why there's an obligation on the one who's the victim of these sanctions to go as far as the aggressor did, but no further. And moreover, the Russians didn't do the same thing with Poland, because Poland yesterday expelled 3 Russian diplomats, and the Russians retaliated by expelling 5 Polish diplomats. So, in other words, the Russians don't always accept this principle of reciprocity. I don't get it, to be honest. I mean, if you start a fight, I don't quite see why there's an expectation that your victim will do exactly the same thing as you did. So that's one thing. The second thing is that the Russians presented a list of people that who now are persona non grata. They will not be allowed into the Russian Federation. Fine. That included Susan Rice. Good. It included the director of the FBI, Christopher Wray. Good. Head of the DNI, Avril Haines. Good. And then all things like Homeland Secretary, the Federal Bureau of Prisons chief. That was all fine. But then they said excluded also is John Bolton and James Woolsey. Now, I don't get the Bolton thing. I mean, I'm obviously no fan of Bolton, but nonetheless, he's a busted flush. He has no following now in the Republican Party. He has no following among the Trump people. He's hated by the Democrats. He's a has-been. There's no further influence on anything. And Woolsey, I mean, the guy was CIA director back in Clinton's first term. He hasn't held public office in 25 years. Now, I learned subsequently that apparently he wrote some book recently saying Russia's responsible for all the evil in the world, or something like that. That doesn't seem to justify a ban. I mean, lots of people write silly books. So I mean, unless he did something in those years, 1993 to 1995, that the Russians hold against him, I don't see that this justifies the ban, given that there are so many other people who should be banned. I mean, where's Clapper? Where's Brennan? Where's Comey? Where's Hillary Clinton? I mean, where are all the architects of Russiagate? They the ones who should be.
Adam Schiff.
Yeah, Adam Schiff. A very good point. Adam Schiff. These are the people who have been poisoning the well for many years against Russia. They're the ones who should be banned. Going back to Woolsey just seems to make no sense. Oh, and Bolton as well. Anyway, what do you think, Peter?
Well, I agree with you. The second part, I don't understand the rhyme and reason. And banning current serving public officials, well, what makes you think they're going to want to visit Russia anyway? So, or under the circumstances we're living right now, who's going to visit during this administration? So, and on the first part, I have no answer to that either. All I know is when it comes to the United States, it's always reciprocal, the exact number. Now, other countries I don't know about. I think with the UK, it's also the exact number.
It is always reciprocal.
Maybe that's just part of their protocol. I don't know, okay? I think that if I were in the foreign ministry, if it was going to be the U.S. kicks out 10, I'd kick out 20.
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to parlay, then why do you need your people here?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What's the justification of having, these diplomatic missions when there's no diplomacy? I mean, just to have them there, stirring up trouble, attending all these, Navalny rallies and basically, I don't know, whatever they're doing. I mean, they're obviously simply making life difficult for the Russians. So why have them there anyway? So yeah, absolutely. If you start a fight, then you can't really expect the person against whom you start the fight to do exactly what you did and no more. I mean, then no wonder the Americans.
Well, I'll go as far as if you want to start a gunfight, I'll bring a gun. I'm sorry, a knife fight, I'll bring a gun.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Alrighty, I very rarely have thumbs up, so I have one. Actually, have 3 today. The American Legion, the organization where we have veterans,
Yep.
they have come out full-throated against these endless wars. It's very, very important. Their influence has waned over the decades. Nonetheless, it's very important. A veterans highly recognized and by very many people honored organization to come out and say definitively that these endless wars must come to an end. And veteran, you shouldn't send soldiers out into harm's way when you know these wars are wrong, they're immoral, and they have no strategic value whatsoever. So hat tip to the American Legion.
No, I think that's a very good thumbs up. Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. I mean, the veterans are understandably frustrated because these wars go on forever and there's no justification for them. I mean, at least, you had Vietnam. There was some vague, not very plausible, but at least a justification. Cold War, we're fighting global communism, and we have to fight them in Vietnam. Otherwise, the communists will just take over the world. But at least that was a justification. What's the justification in Afghanistan? I mean, no one can even explain what exactly.
Oh, don't worry, George. Over the next few months, we'll get plenty of justification. Right. Believe me, they're going to really go down rabbit holes for us, okay, on why we need to stay there. Just watch. It's a whole cottage industry.
There's a cottage industry. But again, with Iraq, now, first of all, you had the weapons of mass destruction. Okay, well, then you found that he didn't have them. So why did you stay on? I mean, so it's again, no one can actually even provide a kind of a coherent argument to justify it. So it's absolutely right, about the Foreign Legion.
Yeah. You're up.
Okay. So my, there's a thumbs down is, I think the Afghanistan and the way the media are spinning this. So remember, Biden said he wasn't going to go along with the May the 1st deadline of Trump's. I said that, we can, we're just going to keep staying on there. Then, when he realized that basically he's now got an open-ended commitment of staying on in Afghanistan, he grandly announced that we're leaving by September the 1st. Not September 1st, September the 11th. That historic thing. And then right away, the media spun this as some great foreign policy achievement of the Biden administration. Banner headlines in the New York Times, President Biden announces withdrawal of U.S. forces. So suddenly, there's a historic shift.
Epiphany.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, boy, the peacemaker. Yet another, chalk that up to another victory for Biden. And the Times story, didn't even mention until the penultimate paragraph the agreement signed by Trump with last February the 2020. And even that was just all dismissed. Well, Trump said many things. Who cares what he said? So the usual kind of New York Times nonsense. So it's very interesting because it's a little like the way the media spun Obama's quote withdrawal unquote from Iraq, because Obama didn't withdraw from Iraq. I mean, the decision was taken by the Bush administration. Obama wanted to stay on. He wanted to stay on in Iraq, but the Iraqi government wouldn't give the U.S.
No, but it wasn't even the Bush administration decision. It was Iraq's decision that you need.
Yes, that's right. But the Bush administration made the commitment. Obama continued with the commitment, but but he wanted to stay on. Iraq refused to grant immunity to U.S. servicemen, so he withdrew. Nonetheless, the media spun this as Obama's historic decision to withdraw from Iraq. All goes further to prove that all these kinds of decisions, and one should also remember, particularly in Afghanistan, Trump was attacked mercilessly by the same media for contemplating withdrawal from Afghanistan and letting go all of the great achievements that the United States had attained all these years. We did so much for the women, and he's letting the women fall into the hands of these towel heads.
Well, there's a number of things in play, and I think, and this is a moving, developing story because a lot's going to happen. A lot. I'm still putting my money on that there will be no withdrawal. My money stays on that.
I agree with it. Yeah,
it stays on that marker. However, it seems obvious to me they weren't going to implement the Trump agreement just because Trump did it. Okay, they don't want to give him anything, zero. Okay. Number two, and now I'm going to go a little bit in the deep end here. Biden, these people know the public doesn't like these wars here. And I think Biden is thinking he might be able to grab a little bit of that wind. As 2022 election comes up, they ended a war. I think that he's looking for a feather. And to be honest with you, he watched it for 8 years in the White House. Now, there are conflicting stories about how he felt about these foreign wars. Some people say he was more for restraint and all that. I don't know if they're just making this after the fact. Again, Joe Biden makes things up all the time. So, but there's a possibility he can see how they rolled Obama, and he watched it. Okay, and for all of Joe Biden's flaws, and they are legion, he has been around a long time. He's watched how people get rolled. Okay, and maybe including himself. Okay, so this is influx here. There's another really big question. They're going to need to put more troops in to get the existing troops out. We always hear that. And then, of course, a huge question mark is contractors. Yep. They staying, and under what conditions? Right. And my sense is the Taliban's going to say, if you're wearing a uniform or not, you're fair game. Okay, you're fair game. Right. So, which of course will be a justification to bring the troops back. It's just a circular thing.
No, you're absolutely right. But what Biden has done is really the worst of all worlds, because he's broken the agreement with the Taliban. So therefore, the Taliban are really pissed off and are now under no obligation to observe the terms of the ceasefire. But he's already given a termination date as to when he withdraws. So therefore, he's made that commitment. And so therefore, everyone's already making the calculation. Well, the Americans are going to withdraw anyway. So why the hell should we respect anything that the Americans want? So it's the worst of all worlds, and he hasn't really negotiated. Trump made a bold move in negotiating with the Taliban. That was a brave piece of foreign policy making. He got an agreement with them. Biden hasn't done any of that. So it's kind of he's gone back on Trump. Then he sort of then decide, oh well, maybe I will commit myself to that. And basically he's managed to get the worst of all worlds. It really is the stupidest possible policy, but you wouldn't get any sense of that when you read the media. But, oh, this is great, historic, we're withdrawing from Afghanistan. And as you say, by no means a done deal, because that military-industrial complex, it never sleeps. And it's not just going to say, oh, well, okay, let's withdraw.
What Trump did was brilliant. He negotiated with the real power player, and that's the Taliban. Right. The government, the Afghan government, that corrupt sack of what? Right. They're not worth talking to. Okay, right. All they do is cash checks. Okay, that's what their whole existence is all about. Right. we're going to be watching this very closely here. Of course, again, this is another indication you can't trust anything the United States says and does. It's their reputation is in tatters because of what they do and what they don't do, what they say and what they don't say. So, I mean, that's why it's very difficult to gauge. All right, my turn. A thumbs up, and you're not going to be surprised by this. Douglas Macgregor. He made an appearance on Tucker Carlson, and if that wasn't the most full-throated condemnation of the industrial military complex and the media complex, and how many he gave a number? How many 4-star generals are there? Like 50, he said.
Was it? Yeah,
huge number of 4-star generals. I thought, it was like 2 or 3. I mean, that's
I didn't realize it was that was
huge. Huge. Good gracious. Here's a man of courage, of clarity, and he made such an important point. He served in active duty on the line in harm's way. And he made a very, very good point. All of these armchair generals in Congress and even in the military itself, I mean, these are bureaucratic people. They have no idea what warfare is all about. They don't know what war is. And he made another really good point here. The military, since the Vietnam War, and we actually could probably include the Vietnam War, all they've done is punch down. And now they're Russia and China, the 2 countries that can say no. They're not prepared for this. They're not prepared to deal with a peer power. And that is at America's peril and everyone's peril, right. Okay? Because as they go into Wokistan with military doctrine, I can't even believe these words are coming out of my mouth. Right. It's going to create a very dangerous situation. And we are in a very dangerous situation here. So Douglas Macgregor is a hero to me. I always enjoy listening to what he has to say. It's logical, and it's the clarity of it all. Yes. It makes perfect sense.
No, I agree with you. And I think that Trump made a big mistake in not hiring him much earlier. I mean, he needed a team around him that was sympathetic to his foreign policy outlook. And I think it was a major mistake that instead Trump, after his dismissal of Flynn, surrounded himself with war hawks. He needed somebody like Douglas Macgregor at his elbow. And he would have
attached at the hip.
Exactly. So I mean, he hired him at the end, but even that was a strange kind of to appoint him to ambassador to Germany. I didn't quite.
That never worked out, did it?
It never worked out because he needed confonfirmation. He was never going to.
And then he was an assistant to the director.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly. Which he didn't need confirmation for. So no, I think it's a very good thumbs up. And I thought it was also very amusing about he said about none of these people in Congress know the first thing about war. Which I mean, a generation, maybe 2 generations ago, most members of Congress did know something about war and had experienced it. And he said even those who are vets don't know anything about war because they're just basically behind the lines. What's the name of the transportation secretary? The
Buttigieg.
That's the one, Buttigieg. Those things behind the line, handling transport, catering, whatever. So
latrine duty.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So you don't actually know how nasty combat is, particularly when it's combat against somebody who knows how to fight back. And again, the Vietnamese showed that they knew how to fight back. But when you get to the Russians, boy, do they know how to fight back. So
when I was growing up, I was in high school and university in California, I came across many vets of the Vietnam War. And it's remarkable the number of times I heard them say, it's a pity we weren't allies with them because they know how to fight.
Yes.
Very interesting for someone that went through that experience. Okay.
Right. No, that's right. Yes.
Right. You're right.
That's good. Another thumbs down. It's been a kind of, for me anyway, it was a thumbs down week. Was the sort of the guru of our day is Fauci. Fauci, who's constantly on the media, is on magazine covers, favorable profiles. I mean, he's a publicity hound who has used this pandemic, this disaster, to become a celebrity. And of course, as Dr. Carlson pointed out, and as others, Rand Paul have pointed out, nothing that Fauci says ever makes any sense. I mean, he seems to have been, changing his position on everything. So like, remember, he was against Trump's travel ban. I mean, remember when Trump proposed the travel ban initially, Fauci was the one who was against it. No, that's not going to do anything. No, that won't help us. Then he was against the masks. Then he suddenly changed his mind to 1 mask, 2 masks, 3 masks. But now everybody wants to know why is it that when people are getting a vaccine, do they still have to wear masks? Why do they still have to social distance? Isn't the whole point of a vaccine that you're now immune? You can't get it and you can't transmit it. And he's not able to explain that. So he had a confrontation with Congressman Jim Jordan this week, which got quite heated. And Jordan kept asking him a question, a very reasonable question, which is, at what point do we get back to normal life? We don't wear masks, we have social gatherings, what we understand as normality. And Fauci repeatedly refused to answer the question. And then he kept dodging, weaving, getting a little personal with Jordan. And you have to come away and conclude that Fauci never wants this to end. I mean, he wants this as a kind of a permanent condition in America. We'll all forever be sitting in masks and basically no more social gatherings. Everything is virtual. So really, this guy is a total charlatan. But and he should have been run out of town long ago.
Yeah, and he's a charlatan and a totalitarian is what he is. Again, the professional managerial class, they just wrap themselves up in glory, don't they? What do these people know? I mean, what we do is 99% of the time, we go with common sense. Yep. Now, I got the jab, okay? I got it twice, okay? I'm confident I'm not going to get it, okay? Right. I wear a mask in the Moscow underground because I don't want to get a cold. I haven't had the flu this year and I don't want to get it, okay? And I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. I've told you this privately. Yep. I'm just in, crowded places. I don't have a problem wearing a mask. When I'm outside, no, what's the point, okay? Yep. Okay, or people driving their car with a mask. Are you serious?
Right. Most
you need to be outside when the sun is out. Go out, okay? That's gonna improve your immunity. I'm not a doctor, but I think that's perfect sense. Okay, this is turned into an industry. It's a means of political control. A lot of these people that push this stuff, they don't like religion. They don't like the traditional family. They don't like our traditional form of government. This is their opportunity to do all their experiments, okay? And they have the power, and they want to do it. They want to keep tinkering with us, how much can we take? I mean, we're all like gerbils on a wheel. I mean, they're just watching us, okay? So I say enough is enough. Maxine Waters, she chimed in with her usual added value, shut your mouth. That's it. Shut your mouth. That's what it is from these people. Shut your mouth. And Fauci's the highest paid civil servant in America.
Right. Shut your. No, I mean that's exactly it. They're now exercising an enormous amount of control, and as we know, when people get that sort of power, they don't give it up. I mean it's human nature. When people have power, they want to hold on to it. They don't want to give it up, and there are a lot of very, very rich people who have got fabulously wealthy during this pandemic. They too want to go on getting more and more fabulously wealthy. So again, they're going to fight back and keep insisting on ever tighter restrictions. And then they have to come up with ever more convoluted justifications.
Yeah, it's like the teachers' unions, It's not going back to a safe classroom. They want more money. They want more benefits. They can change their health plan, their dental plan. They want more vacation and sabbaticals and all. It's not about COVID. This is their opportunity to go to the trough.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, well, we can be absolutely sure that we will be hearing a lot more about how the virus is mutating into an ever more dangerous form of virus, and that we are in peril. The Brazilian mutation, the South African mutation, there'll be
Yeah.
other mutations.
Let me give everyone a juxtaposition. Where I live here in Moscow, it's over. It's over. I mean, as I said, I wear a mask in the metro, but you're not obliged to. No one is going to stop you.
Yeah.
Okay, it's up to you. It's up to you to take personal responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. It's end of story here. So that's the juxtaposition. So different places are doing different things with different results. Some have better results than others.
Yep.
Need I say more? All right, I'm up. Kind of a generic thumbs down. It's been on my mind. Jake Sullivan and Tony Blinken. You know, the blundering brothers. Okay, I mean, they made the hash out of this Ukraine thing over the last 2 weeks. I mean, you couldn't have screwed it up more, except for stumbling into a conflict here. It's baffling to me why these either one of them still have a job. I mean, I'm serious. After Anchorage, then Zelensky is trying to blackmail NATO for membership. It's membership or nuclear war. I mean,
Yes.
Who empowered Zelensky to talk like that? I'd like to know, because he didn't talk that way when he was running for president and after he was elected. Now he is. Okay, is he being nudged along? Is he playing his role? I don't know. And this is very, very bad, a very bad strategy here. Okay, and the Russians see right through it. Okay,
Right. No,
they're not going to take any chances. Why? Why should they take any chances on this B team?
Yes. No, I think that's exactly right. So the Biden, the Blinken, Sullivan team is a staggering incompetence, because having sounded very belligerent on Ukraine, encouraging Zelensky and the people around him, that the United States was, right to the hill.
Got your back.
So they said, we're sending in these 2 warships into the Black Sea. Then the Russians made clear that you come anywhere near Crimea, and we will regard that as a very serious provocative act. And very quickly, the United States backed down, because they suddenly saw the Russians mean business, and then this could easily escalate into a shooting war. So you'd have to ask, well, what the hell were the Biden people thinking? I mean, there were enough noises coming from Moscow to indicate that if you send these 2 warships into the Black Sea, the Russians will take this definitely very amiss, and that this was a dangerous game to be playing. So they back off. And this goes together with other incompetent doings of this team, which we just mentioned, on Afghanistan. You say one thing, and then you completely reverse yourself and say the opposite. And then we can add to that the nonsense with Iran. I mean, we're going back to the JCPOA. No, we're not going back to the JCPOA. Well, maybe. Well, who knows? Well, it's all up to Iran anyway. And please, Mr. Putin, can you help us out? Maybe you can.
No, yeah. I'm pretty sure it was Sullivan and Blinken that told Biden, offer them a summit. They'll cave. They'll cave. They're craving. They're on their knees. They want a summit.
And
then, so it's like Biden calls the Kremlin and I'm sorry, Mr. Putin's he's busy right now. Maybe call back in a few months. Thank you. Bye.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So my thumbs up, down is connected with what you just said.
Well, my next one is connected to it too. So you first.
Okay. Well, which was the this business of the nuclear weapons. So this was an interview given by
Figaro.
No, I think it was the Ukrainian ambassador to.
To Germany.
Yeah, exactly. Ukrainian ambassador.
Okay, I know this one. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and he said, well, either way, we're going to be allowed to join NATO, or we're going to have to go for nuclear weapons. Now, this is, of course, height of irresponsibility. I mean, can you imagine any what would happen to any power in the world that started saying, well, we're going to go for nuclear weapons? And he peddles this nonsense that the media continue to peddle, totally idiotic, which is that in 1994, Ukraine gave up nuclear weapons. And, you know, this is the stupidest thing ever. And the people keep repeating, well, you know, Ukraine gave up, you know, nuclear weapons in return for guarantees for its territorial integrity. Ukraine never had nuclear weapons. There were nuclear weapons on Ukraine's soil, but they were under Russian command. Initially, they were under Soviet command, but since Russia was the successor state, internationally recognized as the successor state to the Soviet Union, they were always under Russian command. It's like saying Italy's a nuclear power because there are nuclear weapons stationed in Italy or in Belgium. I mean, it is so stupid, and they keep repeating this, whoa, Ukraine was a nuclear power and you gave up nuclear weapons. No, Ukraine was never a nuclear power. And for Ukraine to peddle this, that we need to go back because to what it was in 1994, because you know the guarantees that was offered to us have not been fulfilled.
And the Russians should give back those nuclear weapons to us, okay? Because they're ours.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but again, it just shows that sort of the ridiculousness of so much political commentary.
Well, that was we had the same point at the same time. Okay. Also, Ukraine would have to renounce the non-proliferation treaty, which it's a member of. Look, I mean, all of the demonization of Iran is a member of the non-proliferation treaty. Okay. And it has never threatened to leave the treaty as far as I know. Okay. It's never done that. Okay. So again, you have this wag the dog, empowering these silly people. Zelensky gave an interview to French, I think La Figaro, again, talking very recklessly, dangerously. I mean, these are people that are desperate. They are desperate because they know that at this point in time, the Blinkens and the Sullivans, they love to blow off hot air. But when it gets down to cold reality, then they realize, oh, and you know, a continuation of this, the Russians, this is like playing a game of chess. The Russians have played out every single possible move. These guys haven't.
Right.
They haven't thought about it.
Right.
Because, you know, and like I said, you know, just tell Putin we'll have a summit and he'll cave. No, you've lost the plot. You never had the plot.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly right. And as far as we can see, to the extent that you can actually see any clear message from the Biden administration. But if we go by the statement of the G7, then the Biden administration is committed to the Minsk Accords, because that it said there, the solution to Ukraine lies through implementation of the Minsk Accords, and the U.S. is part of the G7, so that's the U.S. position. The Biden administration attempt unilaterally to alter the status quo in Ukraine has failed. And the media who think, oh, Biden has been so tough with the Russians, you know, he's so unlike Trump. Well, Biden's caved, but basically, he got frightened and he caved. And it's the same thing, incidentally, with the New START treaty, which is saying, well, he's got a New START treaty. Biden caved. Remember, Trump refused to, the Russians made a certain, or rather, Trump demanded certain conditions for the renewal of the New START treaty. The Russians said no. Biden came along and he signed anyway. So basically, the Americans gave up all their demands. So, but again, you wouldn't get any of this with all the Rachel Maddows and others. Oh, Biden is so tough with the Russians.
You see, but this is how the Russiagate hoax has poisoned everything. Because what Biden did in agreeing no conditions was the right position to take, the logical position to take.
Yeah,
okay, because of people like Bolton, the Trump administration was not interested in arms control, okay? And I am a big believer in arms control. And now, I mean, I don't know if it's been said behind the scenes, but, I would hope, given the history of arms control agreements, that they said to the Kremlin, okay, we're going to renew it, but we need to really start sitting down seriously, because a lot of technology has changed and it's moving in different directions, and we need to build confidence here. And, it takes a lot of time to do these treaties. They're not simple. And so the best, I applaud the Biden administration. Yeah, they did the right thing, okay? Right. But see, because of the hoax, Everyone's looking about who wins, who loses, who's got hegemony and all. No, 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 no. It doesn't work that way. Not everything is that way. It's in Russia's national interest. It's in the United States' national interest. There's no fog here. Okay, it's easy to understand.
Right.
But the hoax still it seeps into everything, and they will rue the day because it's screwed everything up.
Right. 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 No, I think that's exactly right. However, one has to also acknowledge, I mean, and this of course leads us into a much bigger topic, which you don't have time to talk now. The Democrats are viscerally hostile to Russia. I mean, that goes beyond 2016. It basically has they have some sort of a feeling that Russia is a power that is deeply antagonistic to their values, to their woke values. I mean, Russia is a kind of both a conservative power, yet also a successor to the Soviet Union. So, therefore, there's the sort of the communist and the anti-communist part of it, which is also that people hate that Russia doesn't dismiss the achievements of the Soviet Union. So it's a continuation of the Soviet Union, but it's also a bastion, a force for conservatism.
Of course.
And and sovereignty, and and all of those things, nationally respecting the national independence of all states. So the Democrats just hate all that. So they have this visceral hatred, and this really goes back particularly to the Obama years. So I think there's a deep sense of that, and which I think is why it's going to be very, very hard for them to work on any kind of improvement of relations with Russia.
I call it the new Orientalism is what it is, because Russia is backward. It is primitive. It's not advanced. It's not postmodern, And the reason why I keep bringing up the Russiagate hoax is that I absolutely agree with you, but they have the Russiagate hoax is the cudgel to push this agenda. Okay, because you're absolutely right. They abhor Russia because people here are nominally religious. The family is the center of all social interaction. Russians are fervently patriotic, and they, because of the last 30 years, they've traveled the world. They've seen what the world can offer, the good and the bad. And I'm very happy about that, because then they come back and say, well, why can't we have good service in restaurants? Now they do. Why can't we have quality beef? Because when I first moved here, it was like leather shoes, okay? And now they have steak houses all over the place. The world's taught them that. Take the best practices. But your postmodernist ideology, no thanks. No thanks. We see enough of it on your Netflix, which is translated into the Russian language. Nope, it's fun to watch from afar. We don't want that. We don't want your ideology.
Okay? And that's why when they talk about, that's why when they talk about Russia's malign influence and Russia's malevolent influence, because there are other countries that, they may not like Russia's geopolitics, but they kind of like its cultural outlook. I mean, the most explicit practitioner of that is obviously Viktor Orban of Hungary. But there are other countries. I mean, Poland kind of goes along with the social and cultural moral values of Russia, even though they have this obsession about geopolitics. But the same goes for, the Czechs, the Slovaks, basically they kind of like those conservative values.
It's like up to 35% of French people feel that way.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. And it'd be kind of interesting. Go.
And it's one of the interesting things is that during the FIFA, the World Cup, the U.S. team didn't do well enough to qualify to come to Moscow. And I truly regret that, because I don't know anything about football / soccer. I'm not interested in it. But I really had wished thousands of Americans could have come to Moscow, because I would go to the main streets during the weeks of the matches, and I would ask people, and particularly Brits and Germans, and I'll tell you, George, almost without exception, I'd say, well, what do you think, as opposed to what your expectations were? And almost to the person, they lied to us. It's kind of nice here. Right. People are nice. All the menus are in English. All the signs are in English, and the girls are really pretty.
That's right. No, I think it's very interesting as to what will happen if I mean, there's a chance of this. I mean, I'm not saying it's a good chance, but there's a chance that Macron is replaced by Marine Le Pen, and Merkel, who is definitely going to replace by a German leader who is not at all hostile to Russia. We kind of wonder what kind of a cultural influence then Russia may exert over Europe. We don't know. I mean, there's a long time to go before then, but you can see why people just Russia's malign influence.
No, but see, there's something that is never said, and you won't be allowed to say it, is that Russia has a cultural attraction, and they fear it. They fear it, okay? Because you can live a different way. I mean, there is no political correctness here at all, okay? And the society isn't falling apart. It's basically, as a friend of mine once said to me, she liked living here because the Russians don't really partake in small talk. Sometimes Russians are brutally direct, and even I've been here for a long time, and sometimes I think, wow, it's really direct, but everything's clear. That's nice. Okay. Anyway, this is a subject for another time because it's really important. All right. Maybe kind of switch gears away from foreign policy. Over the last few weeks and months, poll after poll after poll, Republican and Democrat, the rich and corporations must be taxed more, okay? And I'm hoping that this puts the Republican feet to the fire, finally, all right? Or else you're gonna go into oblivion. You can't win on Dr. Seuss, but you can win on taxing the rich.
That's exactly right. And it's quite astonishing that after the corporations stepped in such a flagrant manner on these electoral integrity laws that states were passing, often by Republican-led legislatures, the National Republican Party has been nowhere. I mean, here's a golden opportunity for you to hit the corporations. They're no friend of yours. I mean, why?
I'm not going to give you money.
Yeah, so they hate you. I mean, they look, they give money to Black Lives Matter. They don't give you anything. I mean,
it's like Stockholm syndrome.
Right. But they're unable to use this. I mean, this would be a heaven-sent opportunity. And then they're surprised. Well, gee, why is Biden doing well in the polls? Now, he's not doing that well, but nonetheless, the Republicans are not doing well. I mean, there's so much at the moment that they can seize on to advance their cause, to be more popular in the polls. They're not doing any of those things.
No. Let me rephrase that. Their cause. They don't know what their cause is anymore. No. They're out at sea. They're floundering out there, listless. Okay, they got to listen to their base. That's right. Okay, that's right. And it's popular with their base. Healthcare is popular with their base. Right. My goodness, wake up, you idiots!
That's right.
This is a walk in the park.
Yeah, exactly.
A walk in the park.
Right.
Sorry.
When they had Trump as their leader, they had a sense, they had a direction as to where they were going. At least they had certain issues that Trump had emphasized, and like such as immigration, which
trade.
They should be the trade, exactly, which they should be running with. Foreign policy, but here they are this week. There were 2 thumbs up for those ridiculous sanctions. Again, you should have just simply hit this out of the park and said, what a stupid policy. Why are we antagonizing Russia when we should be focusing on China? I mean, leave aside whether we should be focusing on China, but at least that gives you an opening. Hey, isn't Russia really on our side? If China is our main adversary. I mean, there are lots and lots of things the Republicans could say instead. Great, you go ahead and punish Russia some more. So if you remember before Trump came on the scene, most people thought the Democrats would win 2016 comfortably because the Republicans were just nowhere. I mean, they were just irrelevant. I mean, they had nothing to say. It was only because Trump came on the scene that suddenly they became a vital force. Now they're back to where they were back in 2013 and 14.
Yeah, but see, again, it's the Russiagate hoax that has done this, okay? Because you can't go back. This is what makes it so poisonous, because I mean, I'm not apt to be, quoting Henry Kissinger very often, okay? But even he has said recently, I'm surprised he's still alive, okay? But this whole demonization of Russia is a strategic dead end, and it's dangerous,
Right.
Okay. And they can't go back because they can't retract the hoax. We saw this with the bounties story. Okay. I mean, even Jen Psaki saying, even though it's been debunked, the Russians still need to explain themselves. I mean, how do you deal with people like this?
Right, right. No, but that's it. I mean, but as I say, I mean, it's understandable that the Democrats don't want to let it go, but the Republicans, they're not in any way wedded to Russiagate. Russiagate was directed at them. I mean, it delegitimized their 2016 victory. So, and by talking about the 2020 election, and Republicans did well in the 2020 election, incidentally, by talking about how the Russians interfered, and the claim is not just that they interfered on the side of Trump, which means they're on the side of the Republicans, as the Republicans are going along with this. Yeah, bash the Russians for interfering in our elections. Hey, but that was supposed to have helped you. You want to bash
Russian meddling, but Trump lost.
Right. Well, yes. Well, but that's another thing. That's peculiarity.
People are nuts. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, except that of course the Republicans did do well. I remember they were expected to do very badly according to all the polls, but they came close to winning the the House, almost held the Senate. Won in all this. They didn't lose any state. The state legislatures. They didn't lose a single one. So it was a good performance. But now they have the government saying, oh no, it was all because the Russians interfered. So the Republicans are again, they're kicking themselves, hitting their own goal by attacking Russia for supposedly helping you.
Look, because of this professional managerial class and neoliberal ideology, they've created a class war. As I said last time, bring it on. Because we can win this one. We can win this one with working people. We can do it. Start going after the corporations. People will be lining up to vote. No,
I think that's
I mean, this is not hard stuff. It's not hard stuff.
I agree. Economic populism, that's an easy one for you to seize on. And particularly when you look at the numbers and you say most corporate donations are going to the Democrats. They're going to the Democrats. That in the last election, the Republicans got very, very little in the way of corporate donations. So say, okay, the hell with them. Go to hell. We're going to embrace economic populism.
The Chamber of Commerce supported Biden.
They supported Biden, yeah.
Do I need to say any more? You throw these people overboard. You don't need them. They hate you. Stop slobbering. Stop giving them a tongue bath. Okay. All right. Enough said. Okay. I have a thumbs up. The reading public. I give a thumbs up to the reading. According to Publishers Weekly, Hunter Biden's his screed, his autobiographical screed has sold the sum total of, can I get a drum roll, please? 11,000 copies.
Nice.
So I suppose that doesn't cover the advance. It doesn't cover the printing, the distribution, the advertising, all the free advertising he got on cable, the interviews, what's his stupid name, night show, big payday there. I have a suggestion for you, Hunter. Go back to Burisma.
Right. That 11,000 is an amazing number because a lot of these sales are phony sales anyway, because they're all basically Democratic.
Somebody bought 10,000 copies.
Democratic Party agencies and everything. They buy up books in bulk just to push it up on the bestseller list. So therefore, if you're talking about it's only 11,000, then probably not a soul outside of Democratic Party had bought a copy of that book. So that is actually quite astonishing. A nice little loss of money for the publisher, but of course it's all pocket change, so they don't really care. But that again is an interesting view on publishing, because when they give out these huge advances, it's nearly always lost. They nearly always lose money, because there's no way that many people actually buy the book. I mean, when they give a huge advance to Michelle Obama, people don't buy that book. I mean, there is no way they can ever get that kind of money back. They're just not going to sell that many copies. But but they're happy to do so because I guess they get a lot of publicity. Michelle Obama, $10 million advance or whatever. They don't get any of that back. But again, it just shows the story. I mean, the readers are fine, but the publishing industry is a joke.
I just think that the Biden family should just go back to pay to play, because that's where they make their
money. Go to the Chinese. They've got a few bob to spare.
That's it for me.
Yeah, I don't have too much more. I mean, I think again, big failure on the part of the media over the Afghan bounty story. Though we know perfectly well that they're not going to learn any lessons from it, because any more than they learned all of the other lessons, Iraq, Libya, Russiagate, or whatever. So, the next bullshit story, the media will be on it as expected. One, again, I don't know whether it's a thumbs up or thumbs down, was the remarkable phenomenon yesterday of the Japanese Prime Minister arriving in the United States and being greeted by, I guess, the real president, Kamala Harris. I have to say it's quite a thing. I mean, it's like, this is the Japanese prime minister who's quite an important dignitary. I mean, this isn't the prime minister of Luxembourg arriving. This is prime minister of Japan.
Oh,
that's a big.
I mean, and the Japanese are really into ritual and protocol and everything, and to have her.
Yeah. So that was quite a scene, and you're right. I mean, the Japanese would be definitely.
I'm sure the Japanese prime minister was asking his translator, "Why is she cackling all the time?"
What is this?
It's what's so funny.
Yes, that's right.
These Americans, I don't understand their humor. No, you just don't understand her.
Right, exactly. Hey, Americans are asking the same thing. I mean, because whenever she starts cackling, they're saying, "What the hell did anyone say that was so funny?" What's the cackling about? But yeah,
I'm vice president.
Yes.
That's the joke. I'm vice president.
Right. Yes, it really is. But you really do get a sense, though, that they are grooming her to take over quite shortly, because that's quite a big deal for her.
We've never seen anything like it. The only time we'd see something like that would be when Eisenhower was in the hospital after a heart attack. Then Dick Nixon, he presided over cabinet meetings, and if a foreign, I don't know if one did it, but if a foreign dignitary was in town, he would. But that's the point of the vice president. Right. We have, quote unquote, a functional, breathing, walking president, and he's giving over I'm sure for the Japanese, they're insulted by that kind of treatment. But you're right, and you and I have said from the very beginning that maybe the strategy is to slowly kind of ease her in, so the public gets more familiar with her, because she's extremely unpopular. Okay. Yes. Within her own party, number one. Yes. So, I mean, this is something, their strategy to get us more familiar with her. Maybe she needs to talk to someone about the cackle. That might help her out a bit.
Well, people have been saying, "Oh, she's cut down on the cackles," but every time I see her, she's still cackling. So, what was it before she started cutting it down? All right, Peter, that's the thumbs ups and thumbs downs for the week. And we will be back same time next week, when we'll be making our terrifying determinations as to who met or who failed to meet our very high standards. And I think your dog, Peter,
Robbie, he wants to go out.
We'll be taking an active part. So we're on Rumble. Please look us up on Rumble. And remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.